I always like listening to. I think it's one of the good things we do is these Mahayana Buddhist talks. I always find them really interesting to listen to, which is fascinating to me how people come across the Dharma, and kind of mysterious as well. Why some people it just seems to resonate with them. Sometimes it's quite unexpectedly, and some people it's just not their cup of tea. But some people they just gravitate towards it. So I just thought I'd talk about the things that kind of led me to kind of be where I am today, ordained, and a dad as well, of course. Yeah, if Sam, if I go over time, just tell me. I don't think I'll talk for very long, but so yeah, just going back to my childhood, I don't think I was particularly interested in religion. I was kind of brought up kind of Church of England. I went to a Church of England school. I was christened. My parents weren't particularly interested in religion, really. My mum kind of, I think believes in God, but she didn't really go to church. And my dad was kind of agnostic, I think. He kind of believed in Bob Dylan more than anybody. Bob Dylan was his kind of hero. And I think, obviously your parents influenced you quite a lot. My dad obviously is a big influence on me. I think it's definitely true, isn't it? It's we don't influence our children by what we say. We definitely are influenced by our parents, and we influence our children just by how we are, don't we? We don't. And my dad, I'm very grateful to my dad because he was always kind of interested in the arts, interested in culture. He was very into Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan was his hero, and he just listened to Bob Dylan all the time. Grateful Dead, things like that. He was, you like Grateful Dead, Paul? Yeah. Yeah, he's funny enough, he wasn't a hippie or anything like that, or kind of, he was an accountant. So, but he obviously was quite affected by Bob Dylan and Grateful Dead and various music. He studied the classics at Oxford University, actually. So he was really into literature and history, and he never, and that really influenced me. He never sat me down and said, look, it's really important to read and be interested in history and literature. But he was just always reading something or listening to something. And he just had interesting books around. And eventually I started picking them up and reading them. And I'm really grateful that he gave me kind of interest in the arts and that in the kind of the world of the imagination. I remember once he was listening to the Grateful Dead, and you probably all know the Grateful Dead. They were this kind of really good band, actually. They were quite psychedelic. They would kind of have these concerts where they'd take drugs and then they'd play their songs and have some kind of wild improvisation. And they would go off and Jerry Garcia would do these long guitar solos. And I was listening to one of these mad kind of improvisational guitar solos, which it sounded really odd to me. And I just said, "Come on, Dad, that's not music." And he said, "Well, what is music then? What?" He didn't make a big deal of it. He just kind of asked a question. Well, what should it sound like? And stuff like that just kind of really made me think. So I'm really grateful to him for that. In many ways, my dad, I mean, he didn't really have any friends, my dad. Not that there was anything wrong, he wasn't unpleasant or anything. He just was quite happy with, he just went to work and then came back and had his family. He had a few friends who were kind of Bob Dylan fans in the kind of Bob Dylan network kind of thing. But he was kind of not one to go down the pub or anything. He just pretty much kept to himself, quite a quiet kind of person. The thing that did have kind of religious further for me when I was a kid was football. I was a massive football fan. Me and my brothers just loved football, and Man United was our team because my mum, Sachin's shaking his head there. my mum loved George Best, so she kind of made us Man United fans. And at the time, Man United weren't very good at all. We lived in Lincolnshire, and everyone supported Liverpool and Everton because they were the best teams. Not many people supported Man United at all in Lincolnshire, anyway. But me and my brothers did, and we used to. I don't know why, we just really got into Man United, and we really loved it. And going to Old Trafford was like a kind of pilgrimage, really. Going to Manchester and getting to watch them. And we had our heroes who were like Mark Hughes and Brian Wilson and people like that. So yeah, that was kind of, I guess that at some point Christianity was kind of like that. The people had the same fervour for Christianity as we now do for football. It's hard to imagine, really, in a way, isn't it? But it'd be great, wouldn't it, if instead of going to football matches, people had that same passion for the Dharma. We'd go and sing songs and stuff. But yeah, I as I get older, my kind of interest in football kind of lessened a bit. I was really fanatical. So I just hated Liverpool. I wouldn't listen to the Beatles for years because everything to do with Liverpool was bad, kind of thing for me, as far as I was concerned. But as I got older, I thought, I couldn't take it so seriously anymore. But I was quite interested through the week when all this talk about the Super League was happening. And I was quite touched actually by watching the Chelsea fans. So Chelsea had this big demo, and they all went to the stadium to protest, this Super League. And it kind of looked quite. I was quite touched by it because it was all these young guys getting together to kind of, make their feelings known, and just seemed something quite positive and quite what it thing that I quite liked. Something that you don't seem to see that much anymore. Something quite positive in all that. But anyway, it'd be quite good if we still had the football tournament. I remember Sachin had those shirts printed out that said like had printed on the back then there's 3 jewels and 5 near-miss and stuff like that. Have you still got those, Sachin?
They're in the cupboard in some glass or somewhere.
Oh, good. We should definitely resurrect the football tournament at some point. Apart from that, when I was a kid, the other thing I was kind of into that had a big influence on me was Star Wars, actually. This was in the days when Star Wars was good, and Star Wars was actually really good. It was really exciting. I just loved all that. It really struck a chord in me. Just opened up my imagination, and I kind of got obsessed with it and just read all about it and wanted to get to the kind of bottom of it or something, or work out what it was. It kind of just really affected me. And I read all about George Lucas and kind of his influences. That got me into kind of Joseph Campbell. And I read all about him as a kind of a slightly rebel, independent filmmaker, and his friendship with Francis Coppola, these two kind of indie filmmakers who wanted to do things differently and kind of wanted to form a community, actually, especially Coppola. Every time he makes a film, it's like he gathers a community and they all go around his house and drink wine and stuff, and all these artists and things like that. That kind of slightly kind of bohemian kind of artist thing really appealed to me. Also I really liked the music, and I heard that they wanted the music to be like Wagner, so that got me into, it was a way into opera as well. Just something about the kind of something that chimed with me in Star Wars, that trying to kind of these very old stories kind of put in new clothes and made kind of modern, which I think struck a chord to me. I think in a sense that it's kind of what Tree Ratner is like in a way. We're trying to take these ancient, very old teachings and kind of recreate them for the modern world, kind of breathe new life into them. So that kind of struck a chord in me, and that got me into filmmaking as well. And I'm actually, what I do as a job is kind of, I do animation. That's my job. I'm a motion graphics artist. And so that was kind of directly influenced by that. So yeah, I kind of got so much from that, from reading around that, being obsessed about that, to the point where my career has kind of come from that. So when I went to university, I kind of got into the drug scene, and as a very, very shy teenager, it was I hadn't even smoked a joint before I'd gone to university, but I got on with these guys who were kind of very into drugs, and I kind of got in with them, and started trying to smoke pot and then dropping acid and ecstasy and things like that. Had a great time. It really kind of gave me I think particularly dropping acid was very interesting. It gave me a real glimpse of something, different states of consciousness, and it was such a relief. I thought, oh, because by that point when I was 18, I was just so shy and so kind of socially awkward. Just having that relief was like, oh God, there's another way of being. Such a relief that was. And also just the kind of the friendship and the connection you can have when you're high. That was wonderful as well. I really enjoyed that, and it just unlocked something. Yeah, and also I started reading all my dad's kind of Grateful Dead books, and what appealed to me there as well, there was this kind of just exploration of consciousness, which I really liked. Also, the kind of the Deadhead community was this kind of alternative community, a bit like that always appealed to me, a bit like when I was talking about Lucas and Coppola's kind of filmmaking community. I like the idea of this kind of alternative community living outside the conventional way of doing things, and just exploring things, in quite a free way. That quite appealed to me. But of course, drugs don't really solve anything, do they? They're not a permanent. They don't have a permanent fix. You can make all these plans when you're high, and then the next morning you kind of just get back to how you were. But they do give you a kind of glimpse of something, don't they? A glimpse of something. But I was very into LSD. I was reading this book about LSD, and I came across this guy called Ram Dass, and he was a kind of a 60s hippie kind of thing, LSD taker, and he went to India. And I think he met this, as I recall, he met this Hindu kind of guru or something. And he met this Hindu guru, and he gave this guy some LSD, a big hit of LSD. And this guru kind of said, "Oh, haven't you got anything stronger?" It made no effect on him. And I found that really cool. The idea that you could use spiritual practice, meditation as a way just to be high all the time, to have your brain chemistry just constantly high. That sounded really cool. So that gave me an idea that it put that idea in my head that meditation is kind of a way of getting high. That sounds good. But when I left university, I just kind of went into the adult world, I suppose, and the world of work and things like that. And I found it, I wasn't very happy. I got quite depressed. I found it very difficult. Couldn't really find anything in the world that was kind of that I connected with, really. Just seemed really quite grey, and yeah, wasn't anything exciting about it. It just seemed like, yeah, it's just quite drab and grey. And I think I was living at home at the time with my parents, and most of my friends had gone to London to kind of get work in the film and TV industry. But I think I was just a bit scared, really. I didn't really know how to do that. So I just kind of stayed at home and was kind of, you know, not really going anywhere, just being unhappy and feeling really alienated by this culture. And there didn't seem to be much in it that was kind of resonate with me, apart from just taking drugs sometimes, you know, that was it, kind of a bit of a relief. So I got quite a low point, and I kind of started I started reading books on Buddhism, I think, then, quite sheepishly. I remember going into a bookstore and buying a book on Buddhism and feeling like it was a bit embarrassed, felt like it was a bit weird. But I read this book on Buddhism, and it was by the Dalai Lama, and it just made complete sense to me. I thought, wow, this is yeah, this really rings true to me. This is really great. So in the end, I plucked up the courage to go on a retreat in Scotland, and it was at Dharmakosha, so it was a tree rattle retreat, and it really kind of yeah, it was fantastic. I had a great time. Really loved the people, and yeah, really felt that this was yeah, these people kind of I related to them. They kind of saw things in a similar way that I did. So it was a fantastic week, and I learned to meditate, which I just found painful at first. I just got really bad back and sore legs, and just was waiting for it to end. But I kept going with the meditation at home, and I remember one afternoon doing the Metta Bhavana, I just had a real breakthrough, and just felt really happy and kind of just a massive release of energy. And I think that was a big turning point for me. I thought, wow, this really works. This stuff isn't just talk. It kind of like, I feel really inspired. This really works. And I thought I'd kind of cracked it. Then I thought, wow, you know, I've kind of on my way now. I could just meditate, and then that'll make me feel great. And that lasted for quite a few months, actually. I moved down to London and got a job in London in the TV industry. So yeah, that was great. It was that experience really. I think that's what made me a Buddhist. Really, that was a breakthrough. And started going to the LBC in when I moved to London. And yeah, I suppose the movement kind of was just perfect for me. It just fit me perfectly. It brought together all my things like you know, exploring different states of consciousness, being part of an exciting kind of alternative community, being part of a kind of an exciting kind of adventure, friendship, all the things that are kind of, you know, the arts, the imagination, all the things that I've kind of talked about. He kind of put them together in a package that just really worked for me. I remember studying the Sutra of Golden Light in Mitra study. I've just been restudying that really, and in a way, that sutra, or at least Bante's commentary on that sutra, really kind of encapsulate what I kind of like about the movement and Buddhism. You're probably most of you aware of the Sutra of Golden Light and what a Mahayana, some of you are not. So a Mahayana Sutra is a kind of it's not a sutra like you get in the Pali Canon, so it's not a typical discourse from the Buddha. it's not really like something you read like a novel or a piece of literature. It's a kind of Sangharakshita has referred to it as kind of transcendental science fiction. It's the Buddha's in it, but it takes place in a kind of backdrop of kind of infinite time and space, yeah, it's quite a unique kind of experience. In a way, it's not like just like something you read like a novel. It's more. It's got a kind of a ritualistic quality to it. A sutra it's quite a kind of a devotional thing to read. You kind of have to get into the mood of it. The Sutra of Golden Light is a sutra that was kind of put together over about 300 years. So it's not like there's one author who wrote it. It's like a composite, and it kind of coalesced. Particularly, there's many different sections, and it kind of things kept being added to it over the years. But in the main section, there's this bodhisattva called Ruchiraketu, and he's worrying about the Buddha. He thinks, well, why did the Buddha only live 80 years? It's a problem for him. He says, well, surely a Buddha can live as long as he wants. And he's wondering about this, and suddenly his house kind of expands into infinity, and all these Buddhas appear, and gods and goddesses and things. And the Buddha says to him, or somebody says to him, you know, don't worry, the Buddha's lifespan is infinite. And then he falls asleep and has a dream. And in this dream, he dreamed of this golden drum, which is emitting golden light. Yeah, it kind of creates a sense of a kind of intergalactic mandala, at the center of which is this drum with golden light emanating from it. And all these kind of gods and goddesses are kind of paying homage to this Sutra of Golden Light. And these kings come forward and vow to kind of protect the sutra and protect those who preach the sutra. And as Bhante puts it, you kind of start wondering, well, where is this sutra they keep talking about? And you kind of realize that the sutra is just kind of what's happening in the book, what's happening in the sutra kind of thing. And in a way, you're part of the sutra. In reading it, you're actually taking part in it. So it's like a sutra is not so much a kind of a story or a book. It's like a kind of a world you enter into. It's a bit like the never-ending story, really. Remember the never-ending story? That boy is reading a book, and he realizes that as he's reading it, he's kind of part of it. It's a bit like that. Yeah, so it creates this kind of image of a mandala, which you're kind of a part of. And there's something in that I really love. The idea that you know, we're part of something in taking part in Sri Ratna, and even coming to this meeting tonight, we're part of something much bigger than we realise. We're part of yeah, this kind of great adventure, this great kind of experience of being alive and trying to get closer to the Buddhas. That's what I love about the movement. It makes life feel like a kind of an adventure, a great grand adventure. That's what I kind of want life to feel like. I don't want life to kind of be just about, you know, going to work, watching telly, you know, even just like bringing up kids and things like that. I want life to have to be about more than that, because I think it is. Like, I think life is about more than that. You know, when you take away all the things that we're worried about on a daily basis, like politics and work and money and things like that, at the end of the day, life is just a giant mystery, giant adventure, because we don't really know what we are. We don't know what consciousness is. We don't know really what we're doing. We don't know how far the universe goes. And we don't know what happens when we die. So life really is a giant kind of mystery. It's a bit terrifying, all that, really, but which is, I think, is why we tend to keep it so mundane. But in a way, that's what kind of Buddhism kind of gives to me, as well as just great friends. And you're not doing this thing on your own; you're doing it with great friends as well. And I'm trying to develop friendship. And it's something that I can put all my energy into, and nothing else quite hits the mark. Like football is great, and but just it hasn't got quite the depth of philosophical depth, something to kind of put all my life into. And drugs are kind of, drugs are great, but they're not a permanent fix. So but with this, it's something I can put all my energy into, and I think that's what we need to be happy. Really, is something to put all our energy into, and partly why I just was really happy that Sam just got this group together. It's like him taking his initiative and doing something, and that's what we need. I think we need people who are, you want to take part and not just be kind of consumers of it, but take part. And taking part could just be showing up. In a way, we're taking part in this, what's talked about in the Sutra of Golden Light, and we can all kind of, in that we have this intergalactic mandala, all these kings in different areas just pledge their homage to this sutra, to the Golden Light, the transcendental. And we can all do that in our own way, with our own abilities and limitations. Some of us can, like Jana Varcha and Maitreya Bandhu, can give great talks. For other people, it might be just, just showing up and just taking part and doing our practice. But we can all kind of be part of the kind of, we can all experience a golden light in whatever way that we can, without sounding too kind of, that doesn't sound too trite or something. But anyway, I'll leave it there.